Congressman, let me first congratulate you on your primary win and your successful rebuff of a establishment that wishes to find seemingly nothing about the Trump assassination plot. Congratulations.
Hey, thanks for having me, Benny. I appreciate being on with you, man.
Yeah. So just from a tactical perspective, even when we were in Butler a week ago, there's been so much new information that has come to light. And since we were on the rooftop with the snipers' position that the Secret Service snipers had, and we were looking at the roof line, we spoke about how potentially that could be a hard shot if Thomas Crooks was laying on his belly and was crawling and was trying to keep a very low profile. But here I have for your view and for the audience view, the actual Thomas Crooks full body, head, and torso and firearm shot from the general direction of the sniper position. Sniper position would actually have a better direction here for Overwatch. I just want to get, first off, your take on this clip, because clearly Thomas Crooks was showing himself to the sniper position of the Secret Service, and they did nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think this video and more that are going to come out just show, what a complete failure and disaster this was. And I think many of us have known that from the start. But it goes back through, and we have so many questions of why this rally was even held at that site in the first place. Benny, when you and I and Corey Mills were up on that counter sniper roof, the barn behind the president, I was going through, I don't know if you remember, with my laser rangefinder, and I was just ranging all the buildings in and around the site. And it definitely makes me wonder who did the advance work for this site, who signed off on it saying, hey, this is a good idea and we can execute our no-fail mission to keep the president safe, knowing that we don't have enough bodies to cover all of these threats out there. And I mean, that's one of the first questions that has to be answered, Benny.
Who did plan all of this? It falls at the feet of the Secret Service. We're learning that the acting director right now is the man who pulled away resources from the site, including the threat mitigation team. We're not allowed to be at this site. Well, what does that tell you?
Right. The same guy saying, it was a huge failure and we'll get to the bottom of it. I think that as this goes on, we're going to find actually had, a real hand in how much resources, how much protection President Trump got, and just the operational, run of show, day in, day out execution of the Secret Service. And so, I'm sure nobody watching your show has any faith in the federal government or the Secret Service investigating itself. Probably don't have a lot of faith in the FBI doing it. And I doubt, quite frankly, after we saw the names on the task force, and that the fact that was political, and I know firsthand it was political because myself and Corey Mills didn't get put on it. And when I was given excuse from leadership, the excuse I got was, well, we had to, put people on from, every little group, so there wasn't any complaining. And it just goes to show that was political. Therefore, it leads you to rationally believe that the witnesses called will be political, the findings will be political, and what's released to the American people will, of course, from Washington, be political. And that's why I'm glad that you took the time to go out with myself and Corey, Benny, because I think just one advantage we have is, just like with COVID and some of the other big, things happening around the world. Oftentimes now it's just regular Americans going out and doing their own homework, doing their own investigation, and then putting it on, the countless different, channels and shows online. I think that's the best way for us to get to the bottom of what happened.
You can see some of the B-roll here playing. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll go along for the ride with these two exceptional members of Congress who are tactical experts. Here's Eli Crane laying on the roof in the exact sniper position. This is the exact position right here. And the congressmen lay down and get in that sniper position and are asking the real questions. How many investigators have you seen do this? And this is a real problem, because in Washington, D.C., it seems like congressmen, maybe I'm wrong here, But it seems like they don't want to know the truth. Maybe the truth is a little too uncomfortable. Why would that be?
Well, I mean, how many investigators have you seen do that, let alone wear red pants while doing it? I mean, come on, Benny. Those pants not legit or what, man? Come on.
Yeah, I guess if the red pants and red hat that Donald Trump was wearing, I guess Donald Trump. Nobody knows where the bloodstained red MAGA hat is. He's been offered $10 million for it. I hope it goes into a museum someday. I'm not sure if your red pants will make it, Congressman, but we'll see. So what was some of the more alarming things that you found when you were on site at Butler?
Well, the biggest thing that was alarming, obviously the site being chosen, somebody signed off on that site saying, "Hey, we can do this mission from here." And as this goes on, I heard Eric Prince on Sean Ryan's show say that Jill Biden got 3 times the protection that President Trump did at an indoor venue in Pittsburgh that same day. So the fact that somebody on Secret Service signed off on this rally taking place there when there was way too many structural threats, way too many rooftops, way too many trees. That's something that nobody even looked at. That forest that was right behind the water tower, Benny. Hunters get in trees all the time in tree stands. Nobody's even looked at that, right? And so there's that. Just it being held there is one of the most alarming things. But I've been screaming about this for a long time. Why the hell wasn't anybody in that damn water tower, Benny? I mean, I almost guarantee you, Benny, not one person from the local SWAT teams or the Secret Service got up in that water tower, which was the highest structure on that entire property. My team actually did, a little map, you know, uh, drawing on it to see which structures were within 1,000 yards of that water tower, which almost every military and law enforcement sniper is trained out to at least 1,000 yards. And almost every building that you and I were looking at, ranging, talking about, pointing out was within 1,000 yards from that water tower. And so why nobody got up there to, take a look at what the fields of view were and possibly had counter sniper team up there is one of the biggest concerns I have. Because here's another thing, Benny. I told you that
Please.
if somebody would have got up in that water tower, not only would Crooks not have been able to, run around that roof like we've now seen him in video, he wouldn't have made it. He wouldn't have made it halfway up that building if somebody was in that water tower. But the other thing about security, Benny, is that deterrence is one of the biggest factors. And what I mean by that is sometimes you'll see law enforcement just park a police car in a neighborhood that doesn't even have an officer in it because it's a deterrent and it makes people think, oh, maybe there's a cop in there. I saw a police car. Yeah, let's move on to another neighborhood, right? Or some people put security cameras on their house that aren't even activated because it's a deterrent. If you have a couple big Secret Service agents with long guns on a water tower, and you're Crooks, and you're thinking about killing the president, and you see those guys, and there's no corner no rooftop you can go to where you don't see those guys, you're not. You're probably going to go home without trying to take a shot at the president because you're about to get killed without even trying to even having a chance to execute your mission. So deterrence is a big part of it, and that water tower would have had some of the biggest deterrence had they put somebody up there with long guns.
Do you think there's criminal liability here? A man's killed. President Trump took a bullet to the head. Clearly, so many of the protocols were not followed. For instance, we led the show off with some of the whistleblower testimony that just broke this morning about how the guys with rangefinders on the outside of presidential events, they just get put in handcuffs automatically, right? Like when you're behaving suspiciously, the police just simply detain you, and they can. And they do that to protect. And here you have Thomas Crooks banging up against, he tried to get into the rally. He flew a drone over the rally. He's behaving erratically. Security experts that we talked to that day said that he was behaving like an Antifa member. He looked like an Antifa member. He had the rangefinder. He was lumbering around the building. Why did nobody put him in handcuffs?
That's a good question, and it's one that many of us have. And at this point, Benny, I'm just hoping that with enough of us looking at this, trying to get to the bottom of it, my biggest goal right now is to make sure that there's such reform done in the Secret Service that this can never happen again
Yeah.
to any other candidate, any president, regardless of what party. And I'll be shocked if, based on what I see in Washington and the fact that you were talking about before I came on, is there any accountability in Washington? I feel like it's very rare if it does happen at all. And so that's my goal right now, to make sure that we put such intense pressure on the Secret Service, anybody that was involved in decision making, that serious reforms are done to make sure that this can never happen again.
I know this is a bit of a loaded question, and it's a tough one, but do you believe that these are just incompetencies that added up, or do you believe that there's malevolence behind it for the president specifically? The reason why I asked is that the whistleblower this morning said that there was retaliation for service members in the Secret Service that said, hey, these President Trump rallies are going to get someone killed, and they were retaliated against Secret Service leadership. There seemed to be a culture that was trying to set something up or design a system to fail.
Yeah, well, so I think that anybody that goes into any investigation with a pre-baked conclusion is a complete fool. And so I'm open to, just following where the facts lead. And Benny, I don't, as you do and the rest of your audience does, I don't just look at the events and the incompetence and the failure of J13 and what took place in Butler. I also look at motive. I look at the things and the things that were said, and how the media and the Democrat Party for years now have tried to brand Donald Trump as Adolf Hitler and Caesar, and the justification of why he needs to be taken out, and all the things that President Biden and others said as a dog whistle to basically justify somebody getting rid of this guy. And so I can't detach that from what happened on J13 when I look at this issue holistically. All right. Because you hear people say all the time, well, if you knew who Adolf Hitler was going to become before he rose to power and started trying to execute Jews and started the largest world war in the history of the world, would you have killed him? And most people will say, yes, I would have, to rid the world of that. And so you understand what they're doing when they constantly try to call Donald Trump Hitler. We cannot forget that. We can't detach some onus and responsibility from those that were escalating the rhetoric, which I believe did play a part in in this entire thing. Now, did Crooks act alone? I don't know that we know that yet. Is it possible that he acted alone? It's possible, but it is hard to believe that a 20-year-old kid acting on his own was able to go there, fly a drone for a half hour, whatever it was, do recon there, and then get within 150 yards of the president with an AR-15 and get off however many shots he got off, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it was. It is hard to believe that, especially when you look at the fact that he had advanced explosives on him, a remote detonator on him. It is hard to believe that. And it's also hard to believe that he bested a 20-year-old kid with no training, bested the Secret Service. Now, I don't know what's scarier, Benny. If a 20-year-old kid did best the Secret Service with acting on his own, that might actually be more alarming than if he was working in coordination with foreign actors, or other people that just wanted to see the former president dead. And this is something that we all have to think about. If a 20-year-old kid by himself was able to do that, let's say a team from of let's say ISIS sent 10 or 15 guys over here, with the coordinate with instructions to try and take out the president in coordination. Actual guys with military combat experience, uh, and working in tandem, working together. How well do you think that would go down based on what you saw of the Secret Service a couple Saturdays ago in Pennsylvania?
I think thousands of people would be dead if they wanted it. I believe that. I've seen it, and I have the
Exactly, and
evidence.
and Benny, that's one of the scariest things about all of this, because we're sitting here as Americans watching this. We think in isolation, but that's not what's going on. You have everyone around the world that's wanted to see the United States, and especially the strongman Donald Trump, be drugged through the streets somewhere, um, you know, and dead and killed. And they're watching this and they're thinking to themselves, wow, that was easy. That's his security. Okay, game on. That's what they're thinking.
So, how do we solve it? You and Corey Mills have stood up your own investigation after being kept off by the establishment of what the congressional investigation. And so I just wanted to give you an opportunity, Congressman, to talk about that investigation, the status of it, and where it's headed.
Yeah, so this isn't personal for me at all. Benny, I told you that when we were headed out to the site that me and remember me telling you that me and Corey were not going to be on this task force. Do you remember me saying that? You remember why I said that?
I do.
Okay. Well, for your audience, I knew that I wouldn't be on it, just because I know how Washington works. Everything's political. But at the end of the day, this little task force, regardless of what people think, this little, parallel investigation that Corey and I and others are going to be working on, it's not in competition. It's to augment. It's like I said, it is to make sure that this never happens again. And because this task force is political, I've been told it's political.
Sorry about that.
We have to make sure this doesn't happen again. And so we're gonna be bringing in some very heavy hitters, some big names that can help us get to the bottom of this, bring in expertise that is going to be crucial in making sure that we get to the bottom of it. And we'll see where this comes out. We're also hoping that we can get some whistleblowers to come and talk to us. And at the end of the day, Benny, even if we provide a couple key witnesses or a couple key pieces of material that end up becoming a part of the bigger investigation, hey, that's fine with me. I don't need my name in headlines or anything like that. I just want to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Yes. This should obviously be the drive of every American, but there are so many in the country that want to act like this never happened, forget about it entirely, censor it, ding your social media accounts for even talking about it. It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. The things that they don't want you to talk about, those are the things we could scream from the rooftops. Thank you, Congressman, for going up on rooftops with us, and we will be releasing that documentary this weekend.
Thanks, Benny. Appreciate it.